Hi dog lovers! This is Bear and I'm Diana, and this video is called Where to Find a Dog, Adopt or Shop. So this is my very first video and my new channel, Teddy Bear Yorkies, and hopefully I'll get better at this and Bear's gonna help me. And I'd love for this channel to be a place where we can share ideas and explore solutions on all things dog related. And I started an Instagram page in 2017 called Teddy Goes Places, and it was starring my 2.5-pound Yorkie named Teddy, who happens to be Bear's dad. And unfortunately he was killed by a big dog, and I found myself grieving with almost 20,000 followers around the world. And I managed to keep his Instagram going with Bear's help, and it's been just under 2 years since we lost Teddy. Now our Instagram page is called Teddy Bear Yorkies, and with over 68,000 followers, the number one question that I get is, where can I find a dog? And even though most of our followers are Yorkie fans, I'm gonna make this about dogs in general. So I'm going to break the question down of where can I find a dog into two parts. The first part asking the question, adopt or shop, and the second part is going to be specifically on the process that I went through to find my puppies. So you probably heard the quote, adopt, don't shop, and that's meant to encourage people to adopt a dog from a shelter rather than shop from a breeder. And this topic will most likely bring up some strong opinions, and like it did on my Instagram page. And some of you might be quick to criticize me and my family for our choices, but I'm gonna be brave and put my story out there to all of you in order to try to answer these questions for Teddy's followers. By the way, I'm totally great with different opinions. I think it helps us, it helps me look at things differently, but I will just say thank you in advance to all those who are able to share your ideas in a kind way. So anyway, getting back to the subject, a lot of people ask me if I'm a breeder and if I have any available puppies. And although I haven't been a breeder, Teddy was a stud dog, and I didn't advertise his services a lot, but he was super cute and tiny, and he did sire some litters. And about 8 years ago, I asked my husband if we could keep one of his puppies, and we named him Bear. And we decided that one stud dog in the house was enough, so we got Bear fixed when he was a little puppy, or 1 year old or whatever. One day I told my husband that I wanted to keep 2 more of Teddy's puppies, and I got a resounding maybe. Of course, I never got that chance, and after we lost Teddy, even though I knew I wasn't ready for puppies right away, I started thinking out loud on Instagram, and that's when people started commenting, adopt, don't shop, and some people were just downright preachy and judgmental. So even though I'm sure you can guess which route my family took, I'm not going to tell you whether you should adopt a dog from a shelter or get one from a breeder. Instead, I'll just tell you my experience and what we decided to do, and then you can decide what works for you. So when we felt like we were ready for puppies, I decided to consider all possibilities in all price ranges, from getting a dog from a shelter that would be hundreds of dollars to getting puppies from breeders that would be thousands of dollars. So anyway, as I researched, my family and I discussed what we wanted and what we didn't want, and I think that there are pros and cons of both shelters and breeders, and some of those can be viewed as both pros and cons depending on how you look at them. So I wrote up a list of 4 basic questions that you can ask yourself, and hopefully that'll help you decide. Question number 1, what's my budget for a dog? A lot of shelters do charge some kind of an adoption fee that could be up to a few $100s, but if your budget is lower, you know, it's typically far less than getting a dog from a breeder. obviously. And another factor to consider is long-term expenses, because since an adopted dog's health and training have been out of your control, you might have future expenses that you didn't plan on. Oh, hi, Bear Bear. Thank you. Of course, you can end up with health and behavior issues, either way, depending on genetics and your choices as a dog owner. Question number 2, do I want an adult dog or a puppy? Sometimes there are puppies at shelters, but there are advantages to getting an adult dog too. Like adult dogs are typically more mellow than puppies, and it's also awesome if the dog happens to be potty trained. Just be aware that some people do give up their dogs because of potty training issues, and they couldn't figure out how to resolve them. If you want a puppy from a breeder, then you'll of course be in control of your dog's health and training, but you probably already know it takes a lot of time and patience to potty train them and teach them the rules of your house. Question number 3, what breed am I looking for and what features do I like in a dog? So this question brings up a whole new list of questions, like, am I okay with grooming a dog that grows long hair? What about a dog that sheds? Do I want a big, medium, or small dog? And what kind of activities do I want to do with my dog? Like running, hiking, traveling, those kinds of questions. But anyway, if you aren't particular about the breed, you can just focus on the level of energy and behavioral features you're looking for. And there, to be honest, are so many amazing dogs at shelters who deserve the chance to be with an owner, you know, who will commit to them. But for my family, even though we love all dogs, we decided that Yorkies are a good fit for us. And since Yorkies are in high demand, I found that they're pretty hard to find at the shelters. And if one comes along, they get snatched up really fast. So if you want a specific breed and genetic background, finding a reputable breeder is a good way to go, but it does take time to research and find a breeder that's right for you. And I'll talk about that in part 2 of where to find a puppy. Question number 4, how much time do you have for training? So from a shelter, you might find a dog that settles into your family perfectly, like with very few to no issues at all, and that is awesome if you do. I've heard amazing stories of people who rescued a dog from a shelter and they called it a mutual rescue, like where it was hard to tell who rescued who, and I love those stories. But sometimes an adopted dog can have issues that you didn't even know about. A personal example of this is the dog that killed my Teddy was an adopted dog. He was adopted in his later years, and he was apparently in a foster program and shown to not have any aggressive nature toward children or other dogs, and he ran down the street and aggressively killed my little dog. And Teddy was minding his own business, and when that dog raced toward him, he crouched down in a submissive position, and he didn't have a chance. And it's been almost 2 years now, and I still cry and think of Teddy all the time. He was killed by an adopted dog, but I'm definitely not saying that all adopted dogs are bad or that they're the only dogs with issues that are from a shelter, because certainly, you know, dogs with issues can come from anywhere, not just a shelter. We actually didn't demand that that dog be put down. It's sad that now the owners have to take extra precautions, and they also had to deal with it financially. They're really good people and who like to rescue dogs, and I think that that's great. And it was a tough situation, and it's still sad for me, not only because like I said, I'd do anything to have him back, but also because it affected the relationship we have with our neighbors. So when it comes down to it, I mean, I think a dog's behavior is 100% the owner's responsibility, but you know, most of us aren't good at predicting what a dog will do, and most of us don't instinctively know how to train them. We like to think of our dogs as kids, but a dog responds differently than a child. A quick example of a common mistake that we make, because it's what we would do for a child, is to comfort or reward a dog when he's nervous or anxious. But turns out that that only nurtures the behavior and not only keeps them stuck in that behavior, but also makes it worse over time. Well, I got a little sidetracked, but an obvious positive for getting a dog from a breeder is that if you take the time to train your puppy from the start, you'll reap the benefits and avoid behavioral problems later in your dog's adult years. But if you don't figure out how to train your dog right, then you'll most likely have to deal with behavioral problems, just like some of the dogs who end up at a shelter. So dogs can have issues whether they are from a shelter or you got them from a breeder and you didn't know how to train them. So that's my list, and I'll put a summary in the comments below. Feel free to share your experiences with the pets you got from a shelter or from a breeder. I think that there's good and bad that comes with both, and there are no guarantees either way. So that's why there's not a clear-cut answer or judgment from me in either direction. But like most people, I'd agree that it's very upsetting to know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of abandoned dogs that are in shelters by no fault of their own. And it's our fault as humans for putting them in that situation. And to the people who are able to adopt an innocent dog from a shelter, I feel like that is totally a worthy thing to do. But I'm not going to end the video right there. So here's another perspective that maybe you haven't thought of. At the same time that I'm saddened by abandoned dogs and cats in shelters, I'm also deeply saddened by the children of the world who are homeless, orphaned, or in terrible situations. And I think it's wonderful when a family can adopt a child, but that doesn't mean that I believe it's my right to tell anyone that they shouldn't have a child of their own. We also like to judge people for how they want to spend their money. And who am I to tell somebody that it's ludicrous to spend $50,000 on a car or $5,000 on a dog? My neighbor's choice might not be mine, but I obviously don't get to choose for anyone but me. And I think it's a blessing that we live in a free society and get to make our own choices on all of these things. So when it comes to whether or not you should buy an expensive car or an expensive dog or adopt a child or have one of your own or adopt a pet or find one from a breeder, I mean, we each get to make that choice, and everyone has different needs and desires. So if we remove the judgment from the equation and just help each other learn how to care for our pets, no matter where we get them, then I think we'll all be better off. I say, let's put our time and energy into learning how to train our pets and feed them nutritious real food and give them the care they deserve. And let's adopt the ones we can and reduce more from going in by educating each other. That's my hope. And so, like I said, I'm not an expert in training or healthcare. This is all just my opinion. But I do learn from my dogs every day, and I learn from all of you. And I appreciate the connection that I have with dog lovers all over the world, and I want to thank you for inspiring me. So, if you found this video helpful or valuable, give it a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more videos. I am going to follow this video up with part 2 called Where to Find a Puppy. And thanks for watching and sharing with me. I'll see you on the next Teddy Bear Yorkies Instagram and in the next video. Bye.